The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. Ah.
1991 was a wild year. The Gulf War, the release of the video of the arrest and beating of Rodney King, the Warsaw Pact was dissolved, South Africa ended apartheid, and Ukraine celebrated its first Independence Day. All of these events preceded the American late summer August radio debut of the song Smells Like Teen Spirit. The song, released by a relatively unknown band coming straight out of the Seattle rock melting pot, would fundamentally reshape the landscape of rock music forever. In a short span of 3 years, the band had the world at its fingertips. After their first US tour in 2 years, Nirvana began their first European tour in 1994. After their concert in Munich, Germany, things took a tragic turn. The following month, their lead singer and frontman would be found dead in his home in Seattle, Washington. This case file, the theorists make some deep cuts in exploring the case of the death of Kurt Cobain.
Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing Case File 143, Kurt Cobain. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
Ooh, you know what? It's so weird. I couldn't find anything linking Courtney Cox to this case at all, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Going down that Friends rabbit hole, eh?
Yeah. I couldn't see anything, so I don't know where this is going today. First off, it's the beginning of the month. You know what time it is? It's time for the meat draw. If you want to be entered in the meat draw for some exclusive swag, you got to be on our Patreon for $10 or more. It gets you entered into our monthly draw for some sweet swag. So why don't we fire up the... do we put it in the random draw? Is it a special meat draw machine?
It's a meat draw software.
Meat draw software?
Yeah, meat draw is more advanced than the randomatron, for sure.
Yeah, the monthly exclusive Alien Theorist draw.
But you just fucking pull out the disc tray, throw a fucking T-bone in that bad boy and slide it in.
Slide it back in.
That's exactly what happens. All right, here we go.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Colberry.
Colberry. Those who may not know, Colberry has made basically any kind of heavy metal theme song that we have is basically done by Colberry.
Guy fucking rips, man.
Yeah.
He does. He fucking shreds faces.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome.
Fucking
He's been
rips
supporting the
faces.
show for a really long time, too, so we appreciate it.
You're
Good
my
for
boy,
him.
Barry. You're my
He's
boy.
actually from the same town, so we might be able to do a personal handoff for him.
Oh, I will drop that shit off personally.
Save some
Yeah.
shipping.
Save some shipping. Personal drop off. Yeah, but thanks to Colberry for making all our wicked heavy metal tunes. And you're our monthly meat draw winner. So if you want in the meat draw, $10 or more per month gets you into it. All right. Why don't we get into a little space news? I think we've touched on this one before, but there's an interesting article on Science Alert saying a major psychological effect on astronauts in orbit. Basically, they're saying that when astronauts see Earth from space, it changes your outlook on life. I can't remember there was a term, I think we've talked about it before.
They call it the overview effect.
Yeah.
When you get into space, when you get into space and look back down upon the planet, it like changes your like mental wiring slightly. Gives it like a whole new sense of living. Yeah,
the overview effect, which author Frank White coined in 1987. So they're saying it's real. I mean, we've talked about it before, but there was another interesting article if you want to read it. It's on sciencealert.com. Subcategory Space. This one was interesting. We just got even more evidence Mars once had a ring. I didn't even know we had evidence in the first place that Mars had a ring.
Me either.
There was a rubbly ring that circled the red planet.
What?
A rubbly ring.
I try that again. Try that again without sounding like Scooby-Doo.
Wobbly.
A rubbly ring.
A rubbly ring. Once circled the red planet.
Shaggy.
All right, don't say his name. Right, we're gonna copyright. China. I'm not going into any more of that. I'm already embarrassed of reading that article. China is beginning to construct its space station. It's going to start the construction in 2021. China will be in space. The ambitious schedule of 11 planned launches crammed into only 2 years. When it's done, the 66-ton space station will host crews of 3 astronauts for up to 6 months at a time, lasting for a planned 10 years before deorbiting.
Dope.
The new station slated to open for spacey business in 2023.
I hope that's what they call it.
That's what it's spacey business.
Spacey business.
Spacey business. What else we got here? A mysterious deep space flashes repeat every 157 days. This find could be big clue about the nature of fast radio bursts. Basically, and this one rolls right off the tongue here. We have a repeater from FRB 180916.J0158 plus 65, and it appears to exhibit a 16-day activity cycle. So they're not quite sure what it is, but they've noted the pattern in this fast radio burst. So interesting stuff coming from space. We'll keep our eyes on that one. Hopefully it's aliens.
Hopefully it's not.
Come and scoop us off from this 2020.
Hopefully it's not the precursor to some type of like supernova, or no, what do they call it? When the star explodes, quasar. It's like a high energy beam that shoots out from like a dying like a black hole or something and rips across the galaxy, incinerating everything in its path.
Perfect.
Hopefully not that.
That'll be on New Year's 2020. We'll get hit with that one. Just the icing on the cake. All right. Well, I don't have any other space news unless you guys got a little.
Negative.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Curtis Cobain.
Before my time, actually, Nirvana. But by the time I got into heavy music, or distorted guitar, at least, they were still super popular. But
here's a question. What was your guys' first introduction into
that T-shirt worn by every high school girl on grade 11?
That's pretty true. I don't actually remember like my first experience. I wasn't the biggest Nirvana fan when I was like growing up. I was more like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees. So that was a little too heavy for me. I like to be rocked softly. I think everyone knows
back
that
in your
about
Frosted Tips days.
Yeah. So I knew of Nirvana but
A little too edgy for you.
little too edgy for me.
Hurt your ears a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think a lot of people remember Nirvana just from playing Guitar Hero, Heart Shaped Box, the easiest song.
Honestly, for me, I don't know what Dan's first introduction was, but for me, it was on Beavis and Butthead. I remember they played "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on it, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is fucking awesome!" I used to like try and stay up on Saturdays as late as I could so I could watch Beavis and Butthead because that was a cool thing to do back then. But yeah, I remember hearing that song and I was hooked ever since. I went to A&B Sound the following like fucking Sunday and bought the album. I was hooked.
I can't remember my first Nirvana thing. I know I remember maybe Beavis and Butthead. I do. I kind of want to say Beavis and Butthead. Like I saw like one episode and they had like Smells Like Teen Spirit on there. But then I'm also like, no, it might have been just like a VH1 Behind the Music. Like I knew of them, but watched a Behind the Music and that was pretty much it.
I remember being so excited because I remember they were advertising it. You know what I mean? It was on Much Music, I think, and I was all pumped. And I was like a little bit of a metalhead when I was younger, so I was, you know what I mean? I was all amped, and it was fucking unplugged, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Sitting down on a stool on stage, no movement.
Oh man, super bummed out. But now, as an adult, I definitely appreciate the unplugged.
Anyways, it's been the death of Kurt Cobain's been something speculated about since it happened.
Yeah, so he died April 5th, 1994, and because of his, he was an icon.
Huge.
It was one of those deaths.
This is the rock and roll Kennedy assassination, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Like I would say captured the minds of everyone, this story, when it happened. It's still to this day. I mean, people are still talking about, there's still people investigating it. So let's get right into it. I think no surprise right now that he died, and the list of people say he died from suicide, which is a gunshot by a shotgun.
Yeah, official narrative, died by suicide, cause of death, shotgun, but also high levels of heroin in his system. So pretty much he was going to die from the heroin that people say, or the shotgun, but he got the shotgun blast off, and the rest is history. Or is it?
And he left behind his wife, Courtney Love, and their child, Frances Bean Cobain. Where does the conspiracy theory in Cobain start? Like, where did that get roots? Someone shoots himself, all of a sudden, now it's years and years later, we're still talking about it.
So Kurt Cobain, it was ruled later, like due to the autopsy report and lividity and whatever, and in his investigation of the death of Kurt Cobain, it was determined that he died April 5th, but his body was not discovered until April 8th of 1994. He died. His body was found in his home in Seattle, Washington. He was 27 when he died. And
27 Club.
And he was found by an electrician coming to install some security motion detectors,
security lights.
Yes. So Cobain's kind of thing, I don't know how you really want to say it, because I guess everybody who knew him, most of them accept that it was suicide. Like when they look back on it, a lot of them, you read interviews with people who were close to him, whether it's family members, friends, fellow musicians that worked with him up until the time to where he died. They all said that they look back on it and they're like, we should have seen it. Like we should have saw that he was, there was something wrong, and we just didn't do it, or we didn't know what to do. That was, that's what a lot of them say.
Well, because when you look at it, he's that textbook eccentric artist, antisocial, kept to himself, was very the time up until his death. There was a good probably about at least a year where it was it was incredibly turbulent with him, whether it was his relationship with Courtney Love, all the rumors about them potentially getting divorced, him talking, about in the Rolling Stone magazines about how they're weeks away from signing papers and getting divorced. He's no longer happy. playing in the band Nirvana and is looking at other options. And you know what I mean? He's been quoted, I don't know how many different times, saying he's got these debilitating illnesses that are making him want to kill himself. Right? Like it's just, and then not to mention in this time frame, you know what I mean? We have, the guy has been treating these illnesses with opioids and heroin and overdosing more times than you can count on both your hands.
Yeah, and you could probably put the beginning of the real downward slide into towards his actual suicide. I think a lot of people would begin that at March 4th in 1994, when Cobain had actually ended up overdosing on Rohypnol and champagne at the Excelsior Hotel in Rome. He had been in Rome, Italy, for the European tour of Nirvana. He had suddenly came down with a type of like a throat infection, so he wasn't able to sing, so they had to cancel their dates of the tour. So it was reported that he was severely depressed. Courtney Love had to, at that time they were married, had to fly out there and kind of, talk him down. And most of the stuff that we have from, it's hard for me to kind of say stuff about Courtney Love because everybody already assumes that she did it.
Yeah.
So now it's just like anything that she says, everybody's just like, oh, that lying bitch, she's a conniving sociopath, blah, blah, blah. So it's like anything that she says is like out the window, but most of the reports that we have are from her.
From what we understand too, though, and again, this is coming from her, but they hadn't seen each other for 26 days since he's been on this tour. And you know what I mean? From the night of the overdose, he was excited to see her. They spent the night, they spent the day touring the Vatican. He took her out, bought her some earrings, bought her some lingerie, looking forward to having, spending a good night together. So that's why she says when she woke up to him laying on the floor, clutching $1,000 in his hand, in one hand, and bleeding from his nose, and an empty Rohypnol bottle, right? Was kind of
even the doctor in that Italy case had said like everything that said that was a suicide attempt came from Courtney. Even the doctor that like later interviewed it from Italy was like, he's like, I didn't think it was. I think it was a
medication
medication like slip up. He's like, to me it didn't seem like a suicide attempt.
Well, the big thing too is like, so before this potential suicide attempt, he was taken to the hospital, like Dan said, due to, he was having complications. Like he was known to have chronic bronchitis. So he had a bronchitis flare up, and then he's already got this. So I did as much reading as I could do. It sounds like he's had these debilitating stomach problems due to scoliosis, and it was pinching a nerve in his stomach. So he wasn't digesting properly whatsoever.
Due to scoliosis. I mean, I didn't know it was due to scoliosis. I knew he had stomach problems, but
yeah, that's from all the digging I can do. That's the best explanation I had. I heard a couple different people say Crohn's, but the most thing I heard was the fact that he had a pinched nerve in his stomach due to scoliosis. So he was already really ill prior to this overdose. And when you think about it, like this guy's got these two comorbidities already. He's already an unhealthy person, and then you add on an extreme heroin addiction. This is not a healthy man.
He was spending like almost $400 a day on heroin. And I don't know, that seems like a lot of dollars for drugs back, like, was it 94?
I was going to say for like his income, I was like, that doesn't seem, how cheap is heroin?
Well, yeah, I couldn't tell you how much heroin is actually. I haven't ventured that far yet.
We talking black tar heroin here or what?
Yeah.
I think that was, that's what they found in the house when he, that's what they attributed his overdose to in his house was black tar heroin.
So is that the purest heroin?
I don't know whether that was his preference or not. I don't know. I'm not a heroin user, so I don't know.
I don't know the ins and outs of the heroin game.
So let's talk about it. What do you guys want to know? What do you guys want to know? You want to chase the dragon? Let's do it.
If we all do it together.
We know I'm out.
Something tells me that's a conversation that Zell will have. With us
I'm out.
All right, boys. We're going on a pod trip to an opium den.
Yeah.
Let's fucking do it.
Opium's different,
are we smoking opium or are we injecting heroin? Because one I'm out for, one is a hard sell.
One I did in Thailand, allegedly.
Now,
That's the day Zell became a vampire. Right there.
That was it.
His soul just disappeared.
so we have the suicide attempt in Italy. We have Courtney saying he's committed suicide.
Oh, no. Alleged suicide attempt. Suicide attempt.
So we come back. We have this. Kurt Cobain had gone to rehab in 1994, early April or end of May, early April, and he left the rehab center on April 1st, and then later went missing.
Okay, so he did some. There's a couple important things that happened before that.
Yeah. So about 14 days, 2 weeks after the Rome event, you had a domestic dispute, which
that's right.
escalated to the point where police had to be called and arrived on the scene, and they were called by Courtney Love. And she had told them that he had locked himself in his room with a .38 caliber revolver, and he had been claiming that he was going to kill himself. So the officers ended up confiscating that gun and apparently 3 others along with that one. And they also confiscated what they reported numerous bottles of unidentified pills. And then later that night, when they interviewed Cobain, he told them that he hadn't actually been planning to kill himself.
He just wanted some time away from his wife. That was his
Away
explanation.
from the madness, yeah.
Which I can't blame him. She was fucking crazy, but anyways.
After that incident, though, he, surrounded by a group of his closest friends and manager and stuff, pretty much forcibly put him into rehab. Is that what I read?
He did one other kind of crucial thing before he went to rehab. So after that domestic dispute, Dan might know, but I'm not sure if that's where his felony charges stem from, but he ended up getting some type of felony charges, and they took away all his guns at that point in time.
Right.
So him and his best friend, I think it was Dylan Carlson, went and purchased a 12 gauge shotgun together.
20 gauge.
20 gauge.
And the
Is it 20
reason
gauge?
the reason behind
Yeah,
a
you're
20
right.
gauge for a home defense is that with it won't shoot through the walls. So if you miss, you're not going to shoot through the walls and hit someone else with a 20 gauge shotgun.
So
Right.
this is not a hunting shotgun. This is a defending your
It'd be
home
like
shotgun.
it'd be like, or like you could say it could be
Or a bird.
bird
It's
shotgun.
a bird gun.
Okay. So he goes with his friend to purchase the shotgun because he wouldn't be able to purchase it himself, right?
Yeah.
So it's in this Dylan Carlson guy's name, but it leaves with Kurt. And this is like days before going to rehab, right?
Right. So he gets a shotgun, and then the intervention happens. And they're pretty much saying they're going to break the band up if he doesn't check himself into rehab.
Right. As part of the intervention, Courtney Love said she had threatened to leave Cobain. That was part of it. And along with break up the band, they said they were going to break up the band if Cobain didn't check into rehab.
Right. So then,
Dave Grohl was like, hey man, listen, I got a really cool idea for another band. So if you don't fucking smarten up, I'm out of here, dude.
I'm going to play all the instruments.
Yeah, they're going to let me do more
classic.
than play the fucking drums. So think about this tangent time. Other than fucking Dave Grohl with Nirvana, and I don't know, like Phil Collins with Genesis, is there anybody else that have gone from being a drummer in one band to being like the fucking, you know what I mean, the head badass on another band? Like that's pretty ridiculous.
That's a good question.
Right? Like how many other guys have gone from like those are two of the biggest bands in the world that he's been.
Well, yeah,
part of.
it'd be
That's
hard.
wild.
Yeah.
You'd be hard pressed probably to find like a super famous band, but I'm sure there's tons of like smaller artists.
Well, like
and
look
stuff,
at
but-
like Phil Collins, right? Drummed for Genesis, and then he ended up taking over for what the fuck? That's gonna bother me now. Shock the Monkey. What Peter Gabriel took over
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel, right? Yeah, that's right.
Anyways, yeah, it'd be hard pressed to find it. Not a ton. Not an easy swing to go from
No
drummer to head. Anyways, so he checks into rehab shortly after this, and then he seems to escape rehab and disappear.
Scales a fucking wall. Like Spider-Man's the fuck out of rehab.
6-foot brick wall.
Yeah.
Out of
That's
there.
what they're saying.
He jumped and then he probably struggled a little bit. As much as
Buddy,
anyone
I'd
would on
love
a
to
6
see you
foot.
hop a 6-foot wall. That would be fucking
Buddy.
great.
in,
man.
in a single bound right
Oh
over.
yeah, right, dude. I could see you struggling, your feet just like scraping the side of the wall with your ass crack hanging out. Oh man, it would be horrible.
Nah, buddy. I'm right up
Fucking
there.
covered in sweat. Just
I slide right up. Slide and then slide down the other side.
oh no. This fucking Slither, eh? You have an easier time running through the wall.
March 31st, he escapes rehab. And then there's numerous sightings of him in Seattle around April 2nd. And that's pretty much when he then disappears. And then...
Yeah. He's been reported he's reported missing, essentially. And that's where I feel like we can insert... we can't talk about this case and not talk about Tom Grant. And this is perfect. I think a perfect introduction for him. Courtney Love hires a private investigator named Tom Grant to find Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Now this is after she impersonates Kurt's mom and places a missing persons report on him.
Oh, that's right.
Right? Like, how bizarre is that? Why?
I forgot that.
Where's
Why?
the payoff?
Yeah, why not just do it herself?
Like your wife. What's like? That's what I don't understand. But I do like. There are some theories behind that, which kind of makes sense, which we can get to later. But
Well, why don't we talk about that right now? Like, why? I don't understand why I can't get past that.
so what she does is when she calls in this report, she says, "I'm Kurt Cobain's mother. My son is having suicidal ideations. He just purchased a shotgun and he's missing, and I'm worried he's going to kill himself."
Yeah.
Right. So right there, she's planted the fact that this guy is out here with the plan to fucking murder himself.
Yeah, and she's just going on the prior events. She doesn't actually know. She's just speculating that he...
Is she going on prior events, or is she fucking planting
like
the
a
seed?
week before she said that he had already claimed to kill himself. That he
Well,
was
exactly.
But she's the only one to claim it.
But she's the one that's claiming this. No one else is claiming that fucking Kurt is trying to kill himself. It's been Courtney both times.
Yeah, so she's incepting the seed into other people.
I will say
that
this.
he's
I will
gonna
say
kill
this
himself.
as a devil's advocate on this one. I would say if it's anyone, it would be her because they're husband and wife. But I mean, so they're spending the majority of time together. She probably has some inner lookings into his life. Having said that, there's all this rumor about them being on the rocks and being divorced. So it is suspect to me. 100%.
Not only is that part of it fucking suspect, but the fact that she's fucking lying and impersonating somebody else.
Yeah.
How does it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Now, I wonder
She's
if it's
obviously
just,
trying to cover something up.
I wonder if it's just because she's trying to, maybe at that point she's been the only one saying it and she's like, okay, well, I want to be taken more seriously. So if it sounds like it's his mom, then it's coming from more than just me.
More sources?
I don't know though, because
More sources.
right after this, she fucking leaks a fake story to the media that she's overdosed and in the hospital. So in hopes that Kurt will fucking track her down and talk to her. Like, this is not a fucking healthy person.
Or, I've heard other things. So she calls in this fake overdose, goes to the hospital. This turns out to be completely falsified. The weird thing is that this also in the timeline of when he dies, this makes it to be a very nice alibi for her. That's it. Reported. She is known. She's at the hospital. Her whereabouts are known.
But she admits to lying about it though.
She admits to lying about it. So again, it's all, but you know what the problem is with this case and why it's so weird is because we're dealing with someone who's in the thralls of addiction at this point. And so to normal thinking logical people were like, this doesn't logically make sense. But to someone who's strung out on drugs and stuff, I'm sure whatever was happening here had some rhyme or reason to it.
Well, it's already a massive web of lies because when she fucking hires this Tom guy, why does she initially hire him? Because she claims someone has stolen his credit card.
Yeah.
That's the initial claim.
Yeah.
And now, a lot of people say, Courtney Love, she had drug addiction problems, but a lot of people also speculate that her problems were not necessarily problems, more like she just that to give her that image. So she would do a little bit here and there, but she never actually would partake on the same level as Kurt or others.
Buddy, criminal mastermind.
So you fit in a little bit by, smoking a little bit here, smoking a little bit there.
Wow, fucking chasing a little dragon too. She's fucking.
I don't know,
darting
dude.
herself.
I've seen interviews with her and I've seen her before, and I'm like, this doesn't seem like a criminal mastermind to me. I'm just saying.
Buddy, what else did she do other than fucking have a music career? What was her other thing that made her famous?
Being with Kurt Cobain.
No, she was a fucking actress, dude.
I don't remember anything she's ever been in. Was
Are
she
you
in
serious?
Friends?
Yeah, Courtney Cox, right?
Oh. So Tom Grant gets hired and he actually attends the residence with the best friend. What's the best friend's name again? Carlson?
Dylan Carlson.
And they search the residence.
Yep.
Right? And they search all the rooms and
Well, we're jumping ahead. We're jumping ahead here, right? Like, so initially she hires this guy because she says, okay, listen, somebody's stolen our credit card and I want to get it tracked down. So he agrees to meet with her in person. So they sit down and have this meeting and they're like, no, this isn't the case. He has a credit card. I need you to fucking track his whereabouts because he's gone missing.
Yeah.
So then Tom Grant, what was his last name again?
Tom Grant.
Tom
Yep.
Grant agrees to go to Seattle to track him down. And then that's where they get to the residence.
So they search every single room in the residence. This is a day before his body's discovered in a room above the garage. And the best friend goes through. He doesn't show him the room above the garage. It's the one room they don't look in.
Here's my question. Stupid question. Hopefully you guys have some insight on this. They keep referring to it as a fucking greenhouse. Now, is it just the color green or is it a real greenhouse?
No, so here is pictures from the Kurt Cobain death scene. This is the outside of the residence. They'll give you a little. So it's a house with a driveway with the house on the right and a garage at the end of it with a small. You can see there's a small balcony above.
Yeah.
So an obvious door. So
it's like a carriage house, basically.
Yeah,
how you would miss that? How would you not fucking, if you're going there to look in every room, you think when you drive up, you'd be like, all right, above the garage, there we go. Yeah, gotta check there.
Well, I can see why Dylan Carlson missed it. I get it. He's at this time, he's a fucking junkie.
He's a junkie.
But how
probably
much of
been
a
there so
fucking
many
detective
times.
is this guy?
That's what I'm saying, though. Even if he's a junkie, his buddy, unless, you could implicate him maybe in some conspiracy, maybe then. But how many times has he been to his house and he forgets about the room?
I guess.
Right? I could say, yeah, he's a junkie, sure, but doesn't mean he doesn't have a memory at all.
I don't know, man.
Was he on?
So-
was he fucking whacked out of his mind when
that Tom guy says when they were searching the house, he fucking started stealing their roofies and shit like that.
So I get that part, but I was saying he's been there. He had to have been there multiple times before. Now
Maybe
the one thing that people say about this is
on it.
well, that maybe, but a lot of people say that it was dark and it was rainy out when they went to the house, so they didn't really notice the garage. And I was like, I don't know, pitch black, blanket rain. I don't know.
So, anyways, they don't find anything and they leave.
Okay. I guess it's in. If it's in it, I was gonna say because how long's he been dead now? If we is it like 5 days?
Well, at that point, they don't know.
He
'cause
died
they've
on
been
the
found.
5th, and they found him on the 8th.
Yeah.
So this was the 7th. What kind of smells are we talking about here?
No, you're not smelling it. Not
yet?
You're
Not
in a
yet.
completely separate fucking part of the house. You're not smelling anything.
All right.
But
Okay.
the one thing that they did though, that they did a thorough search of the house, not just for him, they wanted to find the shotgun because they were worried that he might harm himself. So they wanted to see if they could find the shotgun and get rid of it. And that's why they were overturning fucking beds and looking under pillows and that type of shit.
Right. Now, to paint the picture more, so Tom Grant actually recorded many of the conversations he had with Courtney before and after the body was found. So there's the way she talks about him. This is why the conspiracy kind of starts to take hold, because the way she kind of talks about her late husband before they actually know she's dead, she keeps painting herself as the victim already. She already is planting the seed that he's dead, even though he hasn't been found dead. So there's stuff like this.
I'd been making videos and doing the LA thing and the New York numbers, and meanwhile he'd been playing Slavania, right? Yeah. And he got real depressed, and he wrote basically a suicide note. There's no real other way. He claims he was leaving me.
So in that one, this is another note that just comes out after that. He actually wrote her a note, or he had a note he wrote in Rome, and it was a divorce note, he claims, but she claims it was a suicide note. So just another instance of her claiming suicide. So why the conspiracy starts to take hold?
Yet he
with
was
Tom
on
Grant.
record with Rolling Stone saying he was planning on fucking divorcing her.
Yep. Pre-imminent divorce. And Tom Grant even goes farther in saying that, like, yeah, the divorce papers were in the works, but hadn't been finalized yet before he was killed.
I will say this right now. It's a bad look when you hire a private investigator, and how long is this? 25 years later, he's still actively saying that the person who hired him killed or had part in the killing of Kurt Cobain. Like, still to this day, there's a website he has, CobainCase.com, where he basically lays out all his investigation. He's like, right away, I suspected her. Something's up with her, and something didn't add up for him.
Especially when she's coming forth with like post-mortem fucking suicide notes and shit like that. She's like, oh yeah, this was under my pillow, my bed. And he's like, nah, we flipped your fucking bed and looked under your pillows. There was no note there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to that. And then she also says something like this.
I don't know, my record's coming out in like a week.
Yeah.
So, and I've learned the value of this. I didn't think it when it first happened, but all publicity is good publicity to a certain degree, unless you're Michael Jackson.
Fuck's
And
sake,
she kind of laughs at the end. It's like, all publicity is good publicity. And then Grant's like, at the time, he just kind of laughed. And then later, after the body was found, he's like, she keeps mentioning like our album's coming out, like good publicity, like, and
it's
like
fucked up, man.
And we'll get to it more, but like at the scene, actually, let's not get there yet. Let's not talk about the scene yet.
Okay, so where are we now? We're searched the house, didn't find anything.
He's having these conversations with her, and she keeps, at the time he didn't really think much of it, but she keeps like making all these like statements like, oh yeah, good publicity, like it's all, this will be good for me, like all this stuff, and he didn't put it together until after the body was found.
Well, apparently Kurt Cobain had called her from rehab at least once, and he had made a statement at least saying, it was a little bit strange at the time, but he was saying, whatever happens, I want you to know that you made a really good album.
According to her. Like that's who the fuck says that? That's so weird.
Yeah, there is no there is no transcript to that. That's a weird thing that she said. You're right.
Exactly. Again, she's pumping her fucking album. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know what? I might not be here tomorrow, but as long as you know, your album's fucking sick. Yeah. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. That doesn't even make sense.
When I read that before, I didn't even think of anything of it. But now that we're talking about it like in sequence of that, I'm like, that's a really fucking weird thing for her to have said, he said, especially when she's going to the private eye and be like, yeah, this is, this is terrible, but I got an album coming out. This could be good. Who knows? Anyways, when he died, he called me actually before, and he said my album, like one of the last things he said to me is like, whatever happens, and your album's off the charts. Like, it's so good.
And
buy it now.
So we have all this weird shit going on, these inconsistencies with Courtney, and then you know what I mean. They don't find anything in the house. So then the next day, Kurt had hired a electrical contractor to come by his house to install some security, lighting, and motion detectors, right? Which already kind of plays into that thing where right before he went to rehab, he was purchasing a shotgun for home defense. Now he's installing these security devices. It makes you kind of think that maybe Kurt felt like somebody was, after him. I know paranoia is a very common thing within the drug community.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? He could very well have thought maybe somebody's coming after him. You know what I mean? Like, he's obviously hiding from somebody. He randomly skips out of fucking rehab, doesn't tell anybody, and fucks off. And people are hiring private investigators to track him down. He doesn't want to be found, and he's purchasing fucking things for home protection. Makes you wonder.
It does. And like the last thing I'm going to play from his recordings is this one here.
My other concern too, and you're in a better position to judge this than I am, but could this cause a problem later on down the road if something ever does seriously go wrong or something happen to you and he thinks it's a trick again,
Well, I just won't tell him it's a trick ever. It's like one of those things, one hand washes the other.
Well, you don't think he would ever find out that you never really were in the hospital?
No. No one will tell him. Okay. I mean, the people that, so unethical, but the people that I had do this, I paid.
Yeah. People I had do this, I paid.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Yeah, dude. Like, it just doesn't, it's not a good look. Like, I see why people point the finger at it because,
yeah.
It's not a good, this is not, like, even just listening to this stuff and how she's talking, what the things she's saying, like, she's paying people to orchestrate, you know, this fucking overdose and her in the hospital and stuff. It's not a good look.
She's painting it like she already knows he's going to die, or she's already like talking like he's already dead. Like, oh, this might help me sell records, and you're like,
well, and we already we already know how her mind is starting to work. She's paying the right people and fabricating these events to work in her favor, manipulating situations, right? Like, I think she's a little bit smarter than most people give her credit for.
The other thing that I had read is that after she finds out from Tom Grant that they searched the house, didn't find the shotgun or anything, she calls in emergency request to the security company to make sure there's someone to go in and install the security cameras and motion detectors that Kurt wanted. And this electrician the next day is who finds the body.
In the green room above the garage, which they didn't check on the initial search.
With the fucking candlestick, and it was fucking Professor Plum.
Well, that's such a weird thing to me. I'm like, so you get a call saying like, hey, yeah, we searched the house, couldn't find the shotgun. I was there with Carlson. She's like, you didn't find anything? He's like, no, we didn't find anything. And then the next thing she does is call the security company and be like, hey, like, you guys got to get there tomorrow and put in all this stuff. And then this is the person that finds the body.
And that's not even the weirdest thing that happens in this situation. What's the first thing the guy does when he finds the fucking body? Calls a fucking radio station.
I know.
And is quoted saying, you guys are going to owe me the best Pink Floyd tickets you have because I have the scoop of a fucking century for you.
Call the radio station.
I just found
first.
Kurt Cobain's body. And they have him recorded saying that.
That's fucking trash, buddy. I hope that guy never got to any Pink Floyd concerts.
He probably didn't.
Fuck no. I hope he got Nickelback tickets. Dickhead.
Yeah.
Were they a band in '94?
They're probably just starting.
This guy's like, I want tickets to this band you guys have never heard of probably yet.
Future.
But Nickelback.
Okay, so
Finds the body.
He finds Kurt Cobain's body. So he's died from a shotgun blast. Later, we know that he also has in his system 3 lethal doses of heroin, at least.
Yeah. So
let's talk about that.
That's the thing. Like, so seasoned addicts, you know what I mean, can usually get around the 100 milligram dose is usually lethal for them. That's fucking pushing it. That's enough to fucking
in one go. 100 milligrams will do you in.
Done. So we have 300 milligrams on board, right? So you're injecting that with purpose. Not only that, now I've heard on a few different fucking articles that I've read that he actually had 2 rigs and 2 sets of track marks on both arms, which is super peculiar to me as well.
So like one,
you don't,
and then switch to the other.
Exactly. So here's the thing, like we'll get into this. I don't know if you want to get into it now or later. So not only did he, so you know what I mean? Let's go, he does 100 in one arm or 150 one arm, 150 in the other arm. Within fucking seconds with that dose of fucking heroin, you are not going to have the motor skills or the faculties to fucking set up your rig and take another fucking bump in the other arm. let alone pull out a fucking 20 gauge shotgun and blow your fucking head
Well,
off.
it's even crazier than that because he packed up all the drug paraphernalia back into a little box, into a cigar box, put it nicely down, then got the shotgun, put it in his mouth, and shot himself.
If we could pull up videos, there's a thing we call it, like when people are pre-overdose, like they're on the border of overdosing, we call it they're on the nod, which means they keep nodding off, right? And you have to keep rousing them because if they don't, they go down and they'll go into a respiratory arrest, which is usually what kills you when you have an opioid related overdose. But so with that, at the fucking very least, he would have been on the nod, and you would not have been able to fucking pull out a shotgun, tuck it down your fucking throat, and pull the trigger.
So we got 3 times a dose of a lethal dose for an addict, like a high use addict.
And they found fucking diazepam in his system as well, a fucking benzo, which is a sedative.
Was that be injected as well, or is that
no?
taken?
Well, it can be, but the more likely cause, like what I'm assuming is he was probably prescribed it from a physician due to some type of anxiety, or they probably gave him diazepam to come off of heroin.
Okay, so he's got 2 track marks. He's shot 300 milligrams. The story goes, he manages to grab the shotgun, pull the trigger. A lot of people say, like, oh, how would you be able to pull the trigger on a shotgun? I think it would be easy.
Physics. Well, people are like, because didn't he end up on his stomach too?
No, I think he was on his back.
Was he on his back?
Because that's how the guy reported seeing him clutching the shotgun with it on his chest.
Well, I remember there was something I read about there was some issue with people had with him shooting himself in that manner.
Because it's something to do with the shell casing was on the wrong side.
Yeah,
something like
when
that.
When he shot, the shell casing ejected, and then it's on the wrong side of the room. But if it could easily hit something and bounce.
Yeah,
anywhere,
I couldn't find. Yeah, like that. I didn't find anything definitive on that, but it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, so we're hearing all this stuff that he's been suicidal for I don't know how long. He's had these suicidal ideations. He's been planning this out. He's wanted to kill himself. If this was planned, like Courtney's insinuating that this is a guy on the edge that's obviously wanting to take his own life, why would you buy the most inconvenient fucking tool to do it on the planet? It just doesn't make sense.
The 20 gauge shotgun?
Yeah. You know how fucking hard that would be?
It's your other guns have been confiscated, right? So maybe this is the last one he had.
No,
yeah, there had been a waiting period for a handgun.
They went and purchased something.
You have to ask what the restrictions are in Washington at the time for buying like a handgun or any type of
if you're gonna walk in there with your best friend and be like, "Hey, dude, just get me a gun," it's gonna be way easier to get a 20 gauge shotgun than a handgun.
Is it? I don't know. I thought in the States you could just go to 7-Eleven and get whatever fucking gun you wanted.
Yeah, you get a tall boy.
We're getting there.
Tall boy and a pistol.
That's probably like that's only like probably like
that's
Texas
freedom, baby. That's freedom. So we already have a lethal fucking amount of opioid in this system. And then we have a fucking shotgun shell that, and then the other thing that's difficult too is some of the reports say there was no exit wound.
Well, it's birdshot, man. Like, I mean,
might not.
That would just
through.
honestly,
ricochet.
That would probably that would just bounce around inside your head. I don't think it would punch. I don't think it would punch a hole through your head at all.
Fucking brain blender.
So also conveniently, there is a suicide note. But before we get to the suicide note, let's take a quick beer break. All right. So we got the suicide note too. So at the scene, they find a suicide note. Zell, do you got a copy of the suicide note? You want to read it out?
Okay. It's a little bit long. So we'll see what we can do here. So there's a suicide note written beside, and it seems we'll get to at the end, but there might be a little bit of suspect with the note. So the note reads, to Boda?
Yeah.
Speaking from the tongue of an experienced simpleton who obviously would rather be an emasculated, infantile complainee, this note should be pretty easy to understand. All the warnings from the Punk Rock 101 courses over the years, since my first introduction to the, shall we say, ethics involved with independence and the embracement of your community, has been proven to be very true. I haven't felt the excitement of listening to as well as creating music along with reading and writing for too many years now. I feel guilty beyond words about these things. For example, when we're backstage and the lights go out and the manic roar of the crowd begins, it doesn't affect me in which it did for Freddie Mercury, who seemed to relish in the love and adoration from the crowd, which is something I totally admire and envy. The fact is, I can't fool you, any one of you. It simply isn't fair to you or me. The worst crime I can think of would be to rip people off by faking it and pretending as if I'm having 100% fun. Sometimes I feel as if I should have a punch-in time clock before I walk out on stage. I've tried everything within my power to appreciate it, and I do. God believe me, I do, but it's not enough. I appreciate the fact that I and we have affected and entertained to a lot of people, and must be one of those narcissists who only appreciate things when they're gone. I'm too sensitive. I need to be slightly numb in order to regain the enthusiasms I once had as a child. On our last 3 tours, I've had a much better appreciation for all the people I've known personally and as fans of our music. But I still can't get over the frustration, the guilt, and the empathy I have for everyone. There's good in all of us, I think. I simply love people too much. So much that it makes me feel too fucking sad. The sad little sensitive, unappreciative Pisces. Jesus, man. Why don't you just enjoy it? I don't know. I have a goddess of a wife who sweats ambition and empathy, and a daughter who reminds me too much of what I used to be, full of love and joy, kissing every person she meets because everyone is good and will do her no harm. And that terrifies me. To the point where I can barely function. I can't stand the thought of Francis becoming the miserable, self-destructive death rocker that I've become. I have it good, very good, and I'm grateful. But since the age of 7, I've become hateful towards all humans in general, only because it seems so easy for people to get along that have empathy. Only because I love and feel sorry for people too much, I guess. Thank you all from the pit of my burning, nauseous stomach for all your letters and concern during the past years. I'm too much of an erratic, moody baby. I don't have the passion anymore, and so remember, it's better to burn out than to fade away. Peace, love, empathy, Kurt Cobain. And below that, Francis and Courtney, I'll be at your altar. Please keep going, Courtney, for Francis, for her life, which will be so much happier without me. I love you. I love you. That's the full letter. And then if you look a little close, I got a copy of it here if you're watching the live stream. Put it up.
We also need to comment on the fact that he quoted an absolute Canadian legend.
Better to burn out or to fade away.
Fade away.
So you can so as you read, it's pretty chicken scratch, and then as you get to the bottom, the lines for
it looks completely different to me. Like just at a glance, I look and I go, this looks like completely different, like written at a different time by a different person. That's what it looks like to me.
Like, not only that, though, like it totally strays from the theme of the entire fucking letter. When you read the first initial part of that letter, it doesn't sound like it's a suicide note. It's got no mention of how much he fucking loves and cares about his family, anything like that. How much, the guy was supposedly obsessed with his daughter. It sounds like a retirement fucking letter. It sounds like a guy.
Wait, didn't he just say how he sees in his daughter what he used to be? Like,
yeah, but that, you know what I mean? Like, if this is his suicide letter and he has fucking 3 fucking lines for his daughter.
It's nothing. Yeah, it seems the last paragraph especially.
You know what I mean? Like what it's his suicide note. He's writing a suicide note to his fans about how he fell out of love with music. You know what I mean? Like that. If you know what I mean? Like that to me sounds extremely superficial and fucking lame.
I mean, he did say that he's a narcissist, and he did say that he is a whiny baby.
Well, to me personally, it sounds like a fucking retirement letter. And more than a fucking suicide note by far. Sounds like a guy that's taking a step away from music.
It definitely looks like, if you look at it, I mean, you see that he went back and it seems he crossed some stuff out, made some changes.
But here's the thing.
Maybe it was a rough draft.
We knew he was looking at backing out. We knew they were trying to sign him to head whatever it was, Lollapalooza or whatever.
Well,
right?
yeah, that was a big thing. Like he had a $9.5 million fucking offer to headline the Lollapalooza tour,
Yeah, it's crazy.
which he
And-
fucking turned down, which pissed off all his bandmates and most of all fucking Courtney.
So when you read this and you read it knowing that like he wasn't passionate about the music and he wanted out, he didn't want to do this tour, it does to me read like a retirement letter. Like he's just like, I'm not into it. Like that's what it reads to me. Now I want to get into really quickly that immediately after this, the police they find suicide note and they go like, well, our work here is done.
Case
suicide. Case
Well, easy.
closed.
A fucking junkie killed himself. Big fucking deal.
And
Case closed.
so
Big deal.
right away, Tom Grant, he is like, this doesn't seem to be, nothing seems to be adding up with how Courtney's been dealing with me. This whole thing, I was just at the house, we didn't like nothing, something stinks. And even Courtney's own lawyer, Rosemary Carroll,
Yep.
the one thing about this note, because lots of people think that the bottom half of that note where it takes it looks like the font changes, isn't written by Kurt. Before Courtney Love went to LA, it's alleged that she left a backpack at Rosemary Carroll's house. Rosemary Carroll was her entertainment lawyer, and she actually reached out to Tom Grant. Says Tom Grant, Rosemary Carroll basically doesn't agree with any of this, but he says that she told him that she left the backpack, and inside this backpack, after a couple of days, Rosemary Carroll peeked in, and there was 2 notes in the backpack that caused her some concern. One of the notes said, "Get arrested," and the second of which notes was just a sheet of what looked to be handwriting practice. Different letters, different numbers, just sequences of these letters practiced over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, here's a quick voice recording of something she said that is kind of suspicious as well.
Maybe tonight if you could come over again.
Yeah,
There's
that's
some
fine.
stuff I want to show you.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I just there's some stuff that was was left at my house that I never thought to really look at.
Yeah.
To look at at all, quite honestly, until last night. And I guess I should tell you about it.
Are they Kurt's writings?
No, hers.
Oh, okay.
So that's the audio recording of that same thing of her calling and be like, "This looks suspicious. There's this inner back, like this is here. I want you to come have a look at this."
So she never in the recording says what's in it, but Tom Grant says that this is what's in it. And he released the pictures of the get arrested note and the note allegedly containing the handwriting samples. And if you go on, I mean, I hate to send people to YouTube, but on YouTube, some people have taken the letter and have taken the letters that are being practiced in the note found in Courtney Love's backpack, and they've taken all the letters and they've written out the note on the bottom portion of Kurt Cobain's suicide note, and it's identical. Like it's an identical look, and I'm not saying that's any proof of any crime or anything, but I'm saying it's very suspicious. Now the other thing is Rosemary Carroll denies all of this, but even though Tom Grant is publicly saying like, "Hey, nope, she said all this," Rosemary Carroll could sue him for libel or slander, and she doesn't. And the reason Tom Grant says she doesn't do this is because if she sues him, they have to have a disposition, and then all this gets brought in front of a court. Like all of this evidence.
Well, and this Rosemary Carroll lady, she wasn't just Courtney's lawyer. She was a close family friend of theirs. Like she was Francis's godmother.
Yeah.
Right. And not only that, prior to Kurt killing himself, Courtney approached her saying, "I need the most vicious, meanest divorce lawyer you have possible because I'm going after Kurt for everything he has," and is stated that she wanted to fucking find a loophole to get out of the prenuptial agreement that they had.
When they signed the prenup originally before they got married, Courtney thought she was going to be the superstar. She was going to have all the money, and she didn't want him to have access to her fortune. Turns out once Nevermind released, tables turned drastically.
I mean, she had somewhat of a lucrative career.
Still very successful.
Hole was never my fucking jam.
No.
I'll be honest with you. I never really got into it. Her self-titled stuff, she had maybe one good single, but you know what I mean? Like she was good in Man in the Moon. I liked her in fucking Sid and Nancy. Like, she's a decent actress.
Well, she's definitely like she has talent of her own, and she would have been fine without Kurt in the first place. But it just seems
She
that
wanted it all.
like just hypothetically, if Kurt say he never committed suicide or he never died or was never murdered, whoever the outcome is, he quit the band, Nirvana goes away. That's it. Like people make way more money when a famous artist dies, sales spike and they're much more valuable like dead than they were if they retired.
But he's another member of the 27 Club.
Yep.
Like how much more
27.
infamous can you get? But there's so much more to this too, right? Like what else did they find? Like there are reports of when they, you know what I mean? When they went through the greenhouse or wherever they found him, they found 2 American Airlines plane tickets.
Yeah, I read that too, but I didn't find much more about it. Where were they
I
going
didn't find
to?
anything substantiating that either.
There was the book written by those 2 Canadians. I forget the name of the book. I'll have to look it back up. But they're the ones that are substantiating that he actually had another girlfriend, which potentially was another band member of Hole, the bass player, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit
Kristen,
later. But
was it Path or
Kristen Pfaff.
Pfaff?
Yeah.
Pfaff, Kristen Pfaff, who also
died of an heroin overdose not that long after.
2 months later.
2 months after.
All right. We also what's the other guy too that he came out and he said that Courtney offered him $50,000.
El Dolce.
El Dolce.
El Dolce.
He claimed
was a guitar player for the Mentors, which was a fucking like real hardcore punk band.
They had a song called Donkey Dick.
And Sex Sandwich, Golden Showers, and something else fucking pretty bizarre. But a member of Hole actually dated the lead singer of that band, and El Dolce was the guitarist. And that's how Courtney supposedly had a relationship with this guy. She knew.
So
him.
obviously he was brought in for questioning, making a claim like that, right?
No, because he committed suicide.
Whatever
There's
happened to
no further investigation.
Well, I don't know if he necessarily committed suicide. They said that he just, after a gig, he got intoxicated and I'm assuming fell asleep on some railroad tracks and got decapitated
By a train.
That's after he was viewed by someone and stated that Courtney Love offered him $50,000 to blow her old man's head off.
No big deal.
Now, I'm just saying, like, this is one of those ones where I'm like, man, okay, well, that's weird. And people are like, well, you know, this El Dolce guy, he had a history of alcohol abuse and stuff. I'm like, but that's the easiest tell. Like, well, he was just another drunk guy. That's just like saying Kurt Cobain, like, he's just a junkie who committed suicide, like overdose, whatever. You know, tale as old as time. Don't look at it too deeply, please. Like that, to me, that's what it feels like. I'm like, this guy says like a ludicrous thing like this, and I guess he was known for saying outlandish things, but then he dies so quickly after making that statement. And then especially now we know with Jeffrey Epstein stuff and Courtney Love popping up in Jeffrey Epstein's black books and stuff like that. I'm like, she was well connected in circles.
Well, and
famous
entertainment
circles.
for sure.
Did you guys hear at all about that infamous credit card that she initially reported was stolen to Tom Grant?
So it was not found in the wallet of Cobain.
So it was not found on his person when they found him deceased. And for, the few days leading up to his death, there was these attempts at withdrawing cash, like large sums of cash, $5,000, $2,500, $1,500 from this credit card that were all declined. And then early that morning on the 5th, which is the day that he died, there was a purchase made for $43.29 for some fucking flowers.
So because it was before he was dead was the charges or the attempted charges. And then on the day he died, it was for flowers.
Yeah. Early that morning, the day that he died.
That's a tough one because I'm like, that's a tough one for me to sell. And that's some nefarious thing. Cause I'm also thinking like, he was a drug addict and he had a lot of drug addict friends. And if one of his drug addict friends got a hold of his credit card, like he's trying to get cash, right? Trying to get cash.
But why the flowers?
Did Courtney report it stolen?
Well, because how would she know? How would she know it was stolen?
The whole story with her saying, hey, I need you to track him down, I don't know where he is fucking bullshit to begin with, because he called her from fucking Seattle and told her where he was and gave her his fucking phone number.
So she hires Grant, tells her, track the credit card. That's how you're going to find him. But she possibly already knew he was in Seattle.
That he was in Seattle.
Sends Grant up there. All this stuff happens. Grant goes to the house, doesn't find him. The day after,
and they were supposed. I think Tom Grant was supposed to find him.
Maybe.
I think so too.
Right? Because I think that falls nicer into a timeline of like, oh, I hired a private investigator because I was so worried. I was just.
I had a bad feeling.
I had a bad feeling he found him. So when he goes, no, we didn't find anything, and she's like, fuck. So then she makes this emergency phone call to the security company to be like, I need you there ASAP to hook this stuff up.
Yeah, we've been waiting for a week. We want it done tomorrow. Like right now.
Let's
do it.
Did you guys hear the interviews with her fucking own father?
No.
But why, if she wanted him dead, did it matter when they found the body?
It probably didn't matter. Just in her mind, that's how it wanted it to happen. Like he wanted Grant to find it as the private investigator, and
makes sense, right? She's trying to find him healthy. The guy that she's paying to track him down finds him because she's so worried.
I mean,
about him.
That's why you hire a private investigator to find somebody.
Well, exactly. That's why she did it.
Right.
She's. What do you mean?
I don't see what's
like.
funny.
That's why you hire. I'm saying she might have hired him for not nefarious reasons.
Yeah, but maybe. Yeah, but so Grant himself claims he's not investigating a murder theory. He's investigating a possible conspiracy of murder, multiple people in on it.
Dan, if there was somehow a link to fucking Bigfoot killing Kurt Cobain, you would be all over this. You'd be like, 100%. That makes sense to me. That makes perfect sense. There was rocks, there was bushes, there was
Seattle,
berries.
Washington, Pacific Northwest. You
Exactly.
Don't know. It could have been Bigfoot.
Buddy, you got to open your mind, man. Nobody's saying The Simpsons predicted this, okay? Open your mind to this. This could have fucking happened.
Look, I'm saying that they visited the Vatican, and we all know that the Vatican and the Illuminati are pretty much the same thing. He didn't die in Rome. He was replaced by a body double. The body double was going to go public. They had to kill him. Illuminati hitman. And then Kurt Cobain wrote lyrics for Soundgarden and Alice in Chains.
So wait, body double, and then came back and killed the body double?
Well, they had to kill the body double because they wanted to pin the death on Courtney Love, because Sarah Jean Silver, who is the manager for Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, had a very rocky relationship with Courtney Love. Courtney Love thought that Sarah Jean Silver was the one who leaked details about her continuing drug use while she was pregnant. And that was a real big thing. Like she had a fucking anxiety breakdown about that. Was a really big thing because she had made the claim that she had gotten clean while she was completely clean while she was pregnant, or before, when they found out she was pregnant, she got clean. And then like towards the end of the pregnancy, Vanity Fair printed an article about her actually using drugs while she was pregnant. She thought it was Sarah Jean Silver, who had contact with Danny Goldman, the manager of Nirvana, who basically called her and told her, like, you need to stop talking to everybody about this.
And then what happened to the body double?
Body double's dead.
So how do you write all the songs?
No, the body double's dead, but Kurt Cobain is still alive.
Oh, I see. So they
replaced him.
He's hanging out with Elvis and Tupac, writing songs still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
That makes sense. I can buy that.
He didn't want the fame. He wanted the music. So now he's still writing music, and he doesn't have the fame. So, win-win.
I've got one last thing to summarize this.
Okay.
A few things. All right?
Let's hear it.
You guys ready?
Yep.
You know what I mean? 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 You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I know what you mean.
Perfect.
I think I know what you mean.
If you're taking shots for every time, you're fucking.
I hope
done
so.
now.
I fucking hope so.
That'd have been about 97 shots.
You're now dead.
See, here's the hard thing for me. Here's my final thoughts on the murder. It looks bad. Like this whole thing, when you read it, to me, like it looks bad, but I just can't. When I'm like looking for a hard motive for Courtney Love to kill Kurt Cobain, I can't find it because people are like, well, she wanted the money. I was like, well, she was in a pretty successful band and had a decent
not
acting
even
career.
close
Dude,
to
no,
Nirvana.
We're
though.
talking like fucking. What was it? They were saying he was worth fucking somewhere near like $400 million.
She was offered $100,000 to play at Lollapalooza, and he was offered what?
9.5 million.
9.5?
This is fucking.
That's big money.
No. That right there is all the incentive you need. She's worth not even a fraction of what he was worth.
What if? Okay, take the theory farther. What if? So Courtney Love find out she's going to get divorced. They have the prenup, so she's not going to get very much. And
Zero.
And then the industry execs, the industry itself, who makes tons of money off this band, this would be their biggest money maker, finds out too. Now we got some deep, dark Illuminati and entertainment conspiracy having this all take place to get rid of him because he's worth way more dead than alive, especially if he's quitting the band and divorcing his wife and all the rest.
Courtney knew he was signing those papers. He was signing those papers and he was fucking hopping on a plane to Aruba with fucking Kristen Pfaff, and that was it.
You would have some, I like that because you'd have a lot of the statements now when you look at it, imagine her sitting with some like music mogul being like, listen, we can spin this. This could be good for you, right? Like, don't worry about it. Like this, like if something were to happen, this could be good for you. And then that's what she's reiterating to Tom Grant in those audio clips, right? Is stuff that people have told her, right? She's just regurgitating.
It just comes out before like the body's found. It just kind of comes out and Tom Grant's like, interesting. Why would a wife who's looking for her husband who possibly may have harmed himself is talking about her career and how it's going to benefit her, and any publicity is good publicity and all the rest.
And why were they in such a hurry to wrap this up? Why didn't they bring in detectives to fucking investigate this? Why won't they reopen it?
It's because the CIA was involved. That's why.
Well,
because Bigfoot was involved.
No, dude, the CIA killed Kurt Cobain because of his anti-establishment political views.
Kurt Cobain endorsed Bill Clinton. They were worried that he was going to stage an uprising against the and then Clinton was running against Bush, who was the head of the CIA. CIA, therefore, is part of the Illuminati, controlling the workings of maybe the entertainment industry. Got rid of him.
You just said Clinton. Dan just checked in. I can see the look in his eyes. He's ready to go.
Man's a hell of a politician.
I like Dan's theory. He got switched with a CIA body double in Rome. This CIA body double was going to drop out of Lollapalooza, going to stop doing the music, so he wouldn't keep up with this anti-establishment movement that he was doing. The real Kurt Cobain comes back. The fake Kurt Cobain has to fucking escape rehab ASAP before the Kurt Cobain that's in Seattle gets seen. So he dips over the wall, shaves his head, goes, kills real Kurt Cobain. They end it because they're like, you know what? This is too much trouble. He's not following the plan.
I want to see this movie.
Yeah.
All I'm saying,
that's a good fucking
movie.
movie.
Listen to the lyrics of Black Hole Sun. Steal the warm wind, tired friend. Times are gone for honest men, and sometimes far too long for snakes. In my shoes, a walking sleep, and my youth I pray to keep. Heaven sent hell away. No one sings like you anymore. Snakes, reptilians. Count it.
Shit.
Did Kurt Cobain write that?
What? Yes, because the Kurt Cobain. That's
the body double. Ready?
That's the. No, not
that's
the body
real.
double. Kurt Cobain actually wrote that.
Oh.
Chris Cornell says he wrote that in 15 minutes. I don't believe that. And then Chris Cornell also suicide.
Was he a ghostwriter on that song?
Yeah, because they thought he was dead, but he's not.
Okay.
Well,
final thoughts. What do you guys think?
Okay, well, here it is. He had 3 times the lethal dose of a high use addict, 2 different injections. Still managed somehow to grab the shotgun and shoot himself. It doesn't. That part for me doesn't make sense.
No.
He shoots himself up twice. No, 3 times.
Twice.
3 times the lethal dose.
Well, twice with drugs and once with a gun.
Okay,
So,
twice
with
with drugs.
3 times. Yeah.
Then he packs up the drugs in a nice cigar box, slides them away, then turns the gun on himself before dying.
A friend did it with him. A person who he uses with on a regular basis. Kurt used first, went down. Buddy fills up another syringe, jabs it in his other fucking ACF, darts him, fucking packs everything up, grabs a shotgun, wraps his hands around it, pulls a trigger. Sayonara.
Again, you know what? That's an interesting point because there was no fingerprints of any kind found on the gun or the suicide.
Not even
note.
Kurt's. Not even Kurt's.
I think Grant
Well,
said,
they said that there are fingerprints. They were just unusable.
well, the Grant said because they identified it as a suicide so quick, they didn't actually dust the gun and stuff for like 30 days after. So that the prints were degraded and they couldn't actually tell anything. So that just right there, it says like when they told Grant, like, we know a suicide when we see a suicide. And he was like, okay. And then after he started looking into it, that's what he didn't go in with the intention of like, he just wanted to find Kurt and that was the end of his job.
This is a guy who was hired by Courtney Love to do a job. And then he, while doing the job, has gone like, hey, I got hired to do this job, but I'm noticing some red flags from the person who hired me to do this.
Yeah.
Like, does anyone not care? Like, I can't imagine being in his shoes and like being like, no one cares. Like, no one. I'm pretty sure this lady was involved in this guy's death and no one cares. And he still to this day is trying to
I think he
bring attention to it.
Well, he hasn't done much since like when that movie come out, Soaked in Bleach. When was that? 2014.
Yeah, God, that was
yeah,
so
that was
bad.
about the 25th anniversary.
Oh, it's god awful.
I didn't watch it,
Terrible.
Oh, it was god awful. Those reenactments are worse than those fucking heritage moments. Remember those? Those were so bad.
Anyways, the final thing about the case is, I mean, there was no evidence to turn the ruling aside. So
I'm not saying that there's no with anything like this
evidence.
because it's so famous and because it was such a high profile case. You have so much information coming out of the woodwork that you have to. It takes a while to sort through what is made up, what is reported, what actually happened, who's making up what, whose motives are where. But we're also working off incomplete information because the investigation, like a lot of those materials are still, under lock and key. They can't release all of the details of the investigation. So we don't know if they interviewed other people, if they interviewed people that he was known to use with, and if they established alibis for these people or things like that. We're just working off incomplete information, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks with whatever you want.
The other thing is Courtney Love's lawyer, Rosemary Carroll, she has always denied, giving notes or having any of that stuff to Tom Grant, but that could be twofold. It could be her protecting Courtney Love and being involved in this, or protecting herself, because if she was giving this information, like privileged information, she was breaking attorney-client privilege, so she would be disbarred as a lawyer.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah,
So
even if those notes were not even anything, like if those notes had nothing to do with the death itself, because Courtney was known to have been in the practice of forging signatures to get prescription pills. So
I forgot about that. She
had taken like a few, like earlier that week or that month, she had actually taken like a notepad from her like personal doctor in order to, with the probably the intention of forging
got her hands on
prescriptions.
Some diazepam.
Oh, was diazepam or Valium? I heard
Diazepam is Valium.
Is Valium? Okay, that's just the generic name for it. Okay.
Another thing, though, to throw in the mix is the fact that every single person close to Kurt, as in friends, like close friends, bandmates, family members, all believe that he killed himself.
Yeah.
All of didn't his mom and like his parents, like they said that he battled with depression, like he's been depressed. He grew up in a pretty shitty town. Like,
but hey, that's the thing, like, dude,
your typical antisocial kid. Like, I'm impressed that he became a rock star and not a school shooter.
It's one of those ones where it's like you look at this guy, and then I'm like, is this just a tragic event, or did you have someone who was seeing, what we saw in someone and was pushing the narrative to this, right? This theory is I read a theory that she hired an ex-Seattle cop turned hitman or cop who moonlights as hitman, and the Seattle police helped cover it up. Like, I've read so many wild things on this one, but again, it's so hard. Like you said, Dan, we're dealing with so much misinformation, and like also at the time, Tom Grant would have been dealing with someone in the thralls of addiction, right? So it's hard to believe any of the information. Like, it doesn't look good for anyone. Like it's
I don't know though. Like, we talk about the thralls of addiction, and when I look at the thralls of addiction, I look at Kurt Cobain, multiple overdoses, failure to cope, not doing well. I look at Courtney Love, and I see
she has a history
acting in
of
movies. I see
history
producing
of
new fucking
manipulating.
albums.
Yeah.
I see history of
Faking
manipulation.
ODs.
You know what I mean? The only overdoses that I
that's
know
what I'm
she
saying,
had, she
like-
fucking faked. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if she was in the thralls of fucking addiction.
That's
I have
true.
absolutely zero clue.
It doesn't look good. Nothing looks good for her.
That Tom Grant guy says when he went to see her, he went to see her in rehab. And then when he got to rehab, he's like, this wasn't rehab at all. Her drug dealer was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was like a
it-
self-check-in thing, right? That was like
exactly. He's like, this wasn't rehab at all. They were in there partying. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I honestly, I feel like it was all a show. I think they say that when she met Kurt Cobain wanted nothing to do with her. He wasn't interested in dating her, and she fucking kept pushing and pushing and pushing.
Tracked him down.
And tracked him down because I think she knew what this guy was fucking capable of. I think this fucking girl is way smarter than anybody gives her credit for.
I think so too. But
So why didn't she let him die in Rome?
maybe he was supposed to die there.
Well, think about it this way though. Like, okay, so she
But she was
dies.
the only one in the room.
But listen, so she's the only person in the room with him when he dies in a Rome, as opposed to her hiring a fucking PI because she's super distraught and worried about her fucking husband that's gone missing, and then he's found dead. She's going to look a hell of a lot more guilty than being in a fucking room with him alone where just the two of them and he's dead, as opposed to hiring the fucking private investigator and not being
There'd be
anywhere near him
there'd
when
be
he
too many
dies.
questions. Hey, weren't you there? Why didn't you call 911? What happened? Like, how did you not know he was dying?
Maybe she thought he wasn't going to make it.
Maybe
You know what I mean? When
that's
she
one
called
theory.
911. Maybe she thought she was already too far away.
The forging, it's crazy. I don't like it.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Something
hard.
doesn't
Like,
smell right.
you're automatically going to be the first person suspected if you're in the room with him when he fucking dies.
You're already the number one suspect being the spouse.
Just being the spouse.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that's why, like, but now you think like she fakes an OD, like, so she's time in a place. She's puts herself like away from the situation.
She's nowhere
got
near Seattle when he dies.
Ironclad alibi.
It's rock solid.
Yeah. As opposed to being in a fucking foreign country with him in the same room where he dies.
Now, instead of her being
That being said, they say he consumed 60 fucking tabs of Rufalin. You know what I mean? Like, did he? Or did he pass out drunk and her fucking jab that shit down his throat?
I don't think so. They had to pump his stomach.
What don't you think so? Sorry.
I mean, I don't think she shoved 50 pills down his throat.
well,
so
you
you-
could just think that though.
Exactly. As opposed to us
Well, how would
assuming
you-
that he took them willing.
So like, what if she just kept giving to him after he was like high or
What if
something?
she spiked the fucking champagne that they were chugging?
Yeah.
Anyways.
You know what I mean? So like it's not fucking cut and dry. We have no idea. It's all speculating. We're all trying to come up with fucking ideas.
Well,
mean,
then
we
how
could-
come I still think my Vatican
like your
theory still
Vatican
holds
one.
water.
I think that's a cool idea.
I
dig
think the CIA. We know the CIA has footholds in Rome, right? With Operation Gladio, we know they've got. I think they were involved too. I'm on board. I like yours.
Yeah, I'm good with
They
it
went
too.
the way of Elvis.
I personally think Courtney had a hand in it. That's just that's
It doesn't look good. Like,
It doesn't look
just
good.
Looking at all
No.
this stuff, it looks very suspect.
If you know what I mean. If she had nothing to do with it, she's just the most random shady bitch on the fucking face of the planet.
I mean, she kind of looks that way from the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
I mean, she's not your normal person, you know?
No.
She's not her mental state probably differs than a lot of people. Her life outlooks are definitely a way.
I don't
Way
know though,
different.
man. She fucking inherited $450 million.
Still
Her net worth today is only 150 million. Still a lot.
Well, she's
A
sold
million,
off some
you
of the
know what I
rights
mean?
to some of their back catalog and stuff now. But anyway,
You know what I mean? I'm
All
telling
right.
you, she's not making that much money off of fucking whole royalties.
We've gone a little long, so no UFO case file of the week though. Do we have a theory of the week?
Yes, we'll give it to Mr. Fish King.
Fish King
on our Discord
The
server.
Fish King.
The Fish
Straight
King.
up
Definitely
catching
the Fish
dinosaurs,
King.
man.
I know. He posted some really cool pictures of his romps through the swamp in the Everglades. Gators. Pretty fucking rad picture of a huge sturgeon. Ugh. And just like all the dinosaur looking fucking alligators, I guess, that hang
Dinosaur
out in his
fish.
backyard.
Totally.
So
yeah.
we got some new Patreons.
Dude, we got some Patreons this week. We have Marina Popovic, Hibernating Mama Bear, Emily M106. Fuck, how do you pronounce this? Exchel. James
Sounds about
Crothers. Bryce McWilliams. Oh, this motherfucker right here. Sean Blake.
Sean
Blakey.
Balake.
Funny. I have to have him back on a pod one day. John G. Alan Martinez. Joseph Meza. Spencer Board. Tansequa Kitha. Jacob Watson. Jake Waller. Megan Blanco. The Space Mayan. Thomas Munson. Debalcorp. Fleckmo. Digibop. People are just trying to throw me for loops here.
He's just making up names.
They're throwing me for loops. Fleckmo Digibop. John Becker
That's a fucking
Kalman.
sweet name.
And that is it for this week. Start of a new month. A whole bunch of new patrons. So thank you very much
Fledgmo
for
Jigabob.
supporting the show.
Zell, before we go to, do you have Facebook open on your computer? Someone sent us some pictures during the show that made me laugh out loud. I had to stifle
Amazing.
it. He
Amazing.
titled them "Doth Thou Even Theorize?" I sent them to the Facebook Messenger chat. They're fucking hilarious.
Oh, dude. These are
pull
good.
each one of those up. These are titled "Doth Thou Even Theorize?"
No, these are so good. This is theory of the week material for next week. Let's save them.
For next week?
Yeah,
Save
let's
them for next
Those
week.
are great.
Oh, we
Those
can't
could be
show- what a
t-shirts.
tease.
That could be
Yeah,
fun.
those
Oh,
are
dude, those are
so
so
good.
funny. Those are great. Zell, you got a band of the week or what?
Oh, I do. I'm giving the band of the week to an artist on Spotify called L. Pete. He's like, this song is called Eclipse in las Paradas. It's like Spanish metal. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Instrumental, but it's dope. So I'll play it at the end.
Soulfly.
All right. And next week, we got coming to you case file 144, the Internet Research Agency. So stay tuned next week where we dive deep into where memes come from.
Oh, yeah.
Who maketh,
We'll find the truth.
who maketh
meme
the
spring.
meme?
Should be fun.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.